Hello booktube, it's Eleanor here, coming to you with my bright red nose from holiday. I've come to talk to you today about some of the books that I got for Christmas and some of the books that I treated myself to for Christmas. So I was fully unaware that Fanny Flagg had so many books. I'd read Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe, and then this year I was reading A Redbird Christmas, which I absolutely adored. I thought it was brilliant, and it was actually one of you that said to me, oh, I'm working my way through Fanny Flagg's books, and I was like, there's more? I didn't realise. For some reason I'd just sort of assumed that there was just the two. So I got myself a load of Fanny Flagg second-hand books, all of these to be precise. So I picked up the All-Girl Filling Station Last Reunion, Standing in the Rainbow, Welcome to the World Baby Girl, I Still Dream About You, I Can't Wait to Get to Heaven, and Daisy, Faye and the Miracle Man. So these are all books by Fanny Flagg that I shall be reading and reviewing hopefully in the next year. I'm assuming that a majority of them will be set in the south. There'll be lots, oh look here, lots of pickling figs and jam, and talking about sort of these southern characters. There's this one that's set in the 40s in small town America, and then moves to the sort of 70s. This one is the 40s to the year 2000 in Missouri. This one is Wisconsin and Alabama. And this one is sort of a coming of age tale. I think Fanny Flagg's writing just really works for me. I loved both books that I've read by her, so they will be definitely taking pride of place on my bookshelf, and ones that I will go to when I just need some really beautiful writing, some really evocative scenery. She writes really well about scenery and landscape and nature, especially in Redbird Christmas. I just thought that was brilliant. And her people, they're just, you can imagine them being real, and yeah, both books I've read by her are very cinematic in their descriptions, and I can't wait to get to these ones. So I got my Book Box Club box for December, which came with a little bookish beanie hat. It also came with the Book Box Club's 10 books for 2020, and these are books that are coming out over the year and are definitely ones that I'm interested in. So it may be that I do these as a bit of a challenge for myself. I'm going to slot them into my my book journal, and then as they come out, see if I end up reading them. So I'm looking forward to these. Then in there was, now what was the book that was in there? That's terrible, I can't remember. Oh, there was also a bookish calendar, which I'm going to go and put up in a minute. January is really pretty, the picture, so I shall go and put that up. I think that it was this one. I think it was this one, Dangerous Alliance and Ostentatious Romance by Jenny Cohen, which is one that was on my wish list anyway. I'm almost positive this is the one. It says, for the first time in 10 days, Vicky felt sure she would turn out well. Perhaps her life would become a sensational novel for a few weeks, but surely it would end like Pride and Prejudice and leave her happy and in a position to help her dear family. She faced Althea. I'm charged with finding a husband and I will not shirk my duty. So it's about Lady Victoria Aston, and I think this is sort of a Pride and Prejudice sort of retelling, I think. An ostentatious romance, I don't know. I'm thinking it is, and it looks really fun. And I think that there was a proof in there as well. I can't remember some of where these came from, but this one was in there. Yes, No, Maybe So by Becky Albertalli and Aisha Saeed. I've heard some really good things about this. This comes out in February. It's sort of a political book, and it's YA. I think it's told from two perspectives. There's a boy and a girl, and it's looking at them, I think, trying to sort of I think they're being quite political. It says here, frustrated by politics, tired of your Twitter feed, looking to make a difference, then fall in love with Yes, No, Maybe So, a YA story that will capture your heart and make you want to fight for change. And I've heard really good things about it, so I'm going to be adding that to my TBR for proofs. And then also this beautiful bookmark, I don't know if you can see it, it's quite shiny, came, which was really pretty, so I shall be putting that on my bookmark. Now, I was really lucky that one of the ladies, one of the women that I work with at work, one of the teachers I work with, bought me a book, and she'd gone in and asked the bookseller about various different things, and I hadn't heard of this. I'm really excited. She's picked up a book I haven't heard of that sounds amazing. It's called The Glass Woman by Caroline Lear. I think the book itself looks beautiful, and the story just sounds brilliant. It says 1686 Iceland, a cold windswept land where they talk of witches and fierce strangers. When Rosa is betrothed to John Ericsson, she is sent to a remote village. There she finds a man who will not speak of his recently deceased first wife. The villagers view Rosa's arrival with suspicion. Isolated and disturbed by her husband's strange behaviour, her fears deepen. What is making the strange sounds in the locked attic? Who does the mysterious glass figure she is given represent? And why do the villagers talk of the coming winter darkness in hushed tones? So I think this just sounds brilliant. It's been blurbed as an Icelandic Jane Eyre, which couldn't be better. I mean, I love Iceland, and Jane Eyre is one of my favourite stories, so I'm really looking forward to picking this one up. The super duper generous and amazing Janet from Swirly Girly Reads, one of my closest friends, bought me Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire illustrated edition for Christmas. I couldn't be more thankful to her for this. Thank you so much, Janet. She really and truly spoilt me, and the illustrations look amazing. These books are getting bigger, obviously because the stories are getting bigger. I did read The Philosopher's Stone this year, so I shall be moving on to the next one. I think I'm sort of doing them yearly now, but I can't wait to get stuck into this, so thank you so much to her for that. My wonderful daughter decided that she was going to treat me to some books this year. She knows the way to my heart. Firstly, she got me volumes 2 and 3 of a graphic novel series that I've read the first one of and really enjoyed. This is Space Boy. I really love this. It's about a family. They've come down. They've always lived off of Earth on this sort of other planet. They've come down, and Amy has sort of spotted this space boy. She's trying to acclimate into sort of Earth and Earth life. She has this ability to sort of taste. Everyone has this sort of flavour to her, which is quite an interesting sort of concept. And yeah, she's her dad's lost his job. They've had to adapt to life on Earth, and then as she's sort of trying to adapt, she finds herself fascinated by this new boy that's turned up. So I really wanted to continue with this, and so she bought me volumes 2 and 3 so I can do just that. She also decided that mummy needed to continue reading a bit of romance, and so she picked me up these 3. I've read the first in the series, but these are Dirty Rowdy Thing, Wicked Sexy Liar, and Dark Wild Night by Christina Lauren. And I can't wait to carry on this series, and so thank you to her for buying me these. The next books I picked up for myself purely on the recommendation of Whitney from Witty Novels. She said that these books are brilliant, Prince Charming and then the sequel Her Royal Highness. From what I can gather, this is about a 16-year-old girl. Her life is quite normal. Sorry, I should have said these are by Rachel Hawkins. Until her sister gets engaged to the Prince of Scotland, and then her life changes dramatically. I think these are going to be sort of a fun, fast-paced contemporary romance, and I just love this sort of prince and royal sort of element that is coming out in stories at the moment, so I can't wait to get stuck into these too. The next book I picked up just intrigued me. It's called All American Muslim Girl by Nadine Jolie Courtney. This is a story about a girl. She is in a relationship with this boy, and then there sort of becomes a bit of a problem when she tells her boyfriend's dad, she admits that she is a Muslim, and he is sort of some sort of conservative shock jock, and it's about how she wants to be herself. She's not necessarily a strict Muslim, but even if she was, she wants to be accepted, and she wants you know, to sort of start tackling this Islamophobia that she started noticing in her hometown. And so I think this is going to be a really interesting look at someone that's fighting for their right to be themselves and to have their own thoughts and views without those being targeted and without being targeted herself. The next book I picked up myself is The Mother I Could Have Been by Carrie Fisher. This one just really intrigues me. It's about a woman. She's come from a family where she is not really thought about. She is neglected. She's sort of sitting at her graduation ceremony after college and no one has turned up, and then she meets this man. She ends up they fall in love. She gets surprisingly pregnant, but they decide they're going to make a life for themselves. They move over to Greece, and then all of a sudden when her son is 2, she just up and leaves her son with her mother-in-law and disappears. And this is sort of a mystery thriller, and I just can't wait to see what I think of it. The next book is called Wild and Crooked by Leah Thomas. This is about a boy and a girl. The girl is constantly targeted because her father committed a murder. She's moved back to town. She's having to go to school under a pseudonym to try and avoid getting targeted. And then the boy in the story is the son of the man that has been murdered and has always been treated differently because he is disabled and has cerebral palsy. And I believe there's probably going to be some sort of interaction between the two of these and finding redemption and maybe friendship. I don't know, but it's certainly an interesting concept and one that I'm looking forward to giving a try myself. Okay, some more books that I picked up myself. The first one is a novella, To Be Taught If Fortunate by Becky Chambers. Everyone kept recommending this to me, but I hadn't picked it up because it's quite expensive for a sort of under 200 page book. In fact, it's only about 157 pages. It's hardback, but I just thought I'm going to treat myself to some books for Christmas, and now is the time to buy those books that I might not otherwise buy on a normal book buying spree. So I picked up this one. So this comes at an age where the discovery has been made where people they've discovered a way in order for people to explore new planets without worrying about their bodies like disintegrating or the planet's sort of inhospitable atmosphere causing them problems. And so this has now opened up a whole new world of exploration, and I think this is following some people doing just that. The next book is one that I don't know much about. I think someone recommended it recently, and for some reason I'm obviously drawn to some more thrillery type books at the moment. This is called Unspeakable by Jess Lowry. It says on the back that it is inspired by a terrifying true story, a heart-pounding novel of suspense about a small Minnesota town where nothing is as quiet or as safe as it seems. It's about life in the 80s in this Minnesota town that seems sort of perfectly average and normal, except that there are these sort of strange parties and some sort of deviant guests arriving. But it's something she's sort of used to, and then one by one these boys start going missing from the town and then come back totally different and violent and moody, and then her own sister ends up going through some sort of change, and this is about her sort of looking to try and uncover what's going on. I'm just intrigued by this. It's not something that I've ever really sort of heard of. The fact that it's inspired by a true story really sort of piques my interest, so I'm looking forward to giving this one a go and seeing what I think. The next one was recommended by somebody in their sort of top 10 of the year, and said that it was really difficult to get hold of, and it was. Well, it wasn't difficult to get hold of, but it was just quite expensive because it only comes in this sort of naked hardback, but it was one that I was willing to pay the money for. Again, it was Christmas. I thought I'd treat myself. It's called Waterfall of Stars by Roseanne Alexander, My 10 Years on the Island of Skoma. I mean, this really ticks the boxes for me. It's this idea of going and living somewhere more off the grid, sort of uninhabited, and the sort of island and the nature there. This isn't something that I would ever do, don't get me wrong. I'm not a roughing it type of girl, but I'm just obsessed and interested with people that do and sort of what happens when they do. So this says Roseanne Alexander's boyfriend Mike was offered a job as the warden of the uninhabited Skoma Island. They had 10 days to leave college, get married, which was a job condition, and move their belongings to their new home. Waterfall of Stars is the story of the next 10 years spent in a place that became part of their lives. At its heart is their work as wardens, caring for important colonies of shearwaters, puffins and kittiwakes and all the other wildlife on Skomer. It also describes their many trials on the island, from isolation and dwindling food during months of winter storms, lack of electricity and telephone, to the devastation of the island's grey seal colony by an oil spill. The combination of natural observation and personal resourcefulness makes an attractive narrative for naturalists and would-be castaways alike. Roseanne Alexander writes lyrically about these things. Her depiction of the island, the weather, and in particular Skomer seals is notable for its immediacy and physicality. The reader experiences all the delights and hardships of life on the island as though at first hand. So I can't wait. I just think when I'm in a bit of a natural non-fiction kick, this is going to be the one that I reach for. Okay, just two more. There was quite a lot of books. So these two were very kindly my January gifts from Janet. We do a bit of a gift exchange once a month, and we sort of treat each other to books. This sort of came about from Bookopoly a few years ago. I started a Bookopoly, me and Janet, to try and sort of get through our TBR and to be not buying books. And so we treated each other to a book every month as sort of our reward for not buying ourselves books. And then over the last 2 years, we've just sort of carried on buying each other books, but also bought ourselves books. But it's still really nice every month to sort of get a surprise, and I am going to try and buy less and read more off my shelves. I know I say that all the time, but I've had my little binge sort of session over the last 4 or 5 months. And now I'm sort of at that cleansing stage at the beginning of the year. But she treated me very kindly to two for January. The Hive by Bee Wilson, which is the story of the honeybee and us. She knows I'm obsessed with bee stories. I'm obsessed with all things bee. I love all bee books, and this one just sounds really interesting. It's following bees over the centuries and exploring their relationship with us, and I can't wait to read this one. I've got quite a few bee books ready and waiting for me, so this one will join them in the pile, ready to go. And then the other one was one I heard about really recently. Again, I think it's my obsession with Whitney from Witty Novels. She talked about this one. It's called We Walked the Sky by Lisa Fiedler, and when she explained this one, I think she was gifted this one and she hadn't read it quite yet, but I love the idea of this sort of tightrope here. We're following the span of sort of 2 timelines of this person's life. 1965, when 17-year-old Victoria has fled home and joined the circus, and then we're looking at 50 years later, Victoria's granddaughter, who is being moved away from the circus to do something else, and is feeling insecure and worried about this shift away and not wanting to do it. And I just think this sounds really brilliant. I love anything circusy, and a really modern sort of take on this idea of the changes that must have happened in circuses over the years. So I can't wait to try this one out. So many books. Yeah, there's a lot of books. I shall now be putting them on my shelf, and I shall be reading. So I'll come back to you soon with some reviews of books I've been reading. Fingers crossed there's some more 5-star reads this year. I was lacking a little bit on 5 stars in 2019, but I've got a good feeling about this year, so roll on the 5-star reads. Anyway, that's it from me, and I look forward to speaking to you soon. Bye for now, BookTube.